Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I'm coming back at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In today's video, we're going to continue on with our What's in the Box series. And in today's What's in the Box, we're actually looking at what is in the bag. This is an Old Glory 15 medieval army. It's a Field of Glory starter army number 14, which is the English, the medieval, the 100 Years' War English. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at these figures and see what you get in this bag. All right, now before I begin, I want to point something out. This is a starter army for Field of Glory. Field of Glory is an Osprey Games miniature rule set where you have units called battle groups. And so each of these bags, like longbow 24 count, battle group 1, longbow 32 count, battle group 1, 32 count, battle group 2, 24 count, battle group 2. But I'm planning on playing a game called Meg, or Mortem et Gloriam, which they have something called unit groups, which it's basically the same thing as a battle group. And the numbers don't exactly equate. But we'll take a look and see exactly what we get here. Dismounted Men-at-Arms, Battle Group 3. 1 and 2. Okay. If all of these longbows are the same molds, we won't need to look at all these figures. We'll only need to look at one bag. Just understand that you're getting a couple of 24 counts, a couple of 32 counts. And command. I don't see any cav here. This is all dismounted. Now, there's a couple of mounted figures under command, but those would be generals. Okay, now I do want to point out that in Meg, the English army actually has two distinct 100 Years' War armies. They've got the early English 100 Years' War and the late English 100 Years' War. And the late 100 Years' War would have been the Agincourt English. But if you're playing like Crissy or Poitiers, those would be the early English. There's not much difference in their army lists, but in Meg, they have a thing called a mixed tug or tactical unit group, and that means half of the unit is men-at-arms and the other half is longbow, and you mix that into one battle group, basically. Or you can spend points or save points to replace the mixed tugs that we were just talking about with just longbowmen. You can have just your standard longbowmen with men-at-arms. You can have 16 bases. Okay, and a equal number of just longbowmen must be taken. So it's kind of like a crazy rule. And the longbow, so if I have a mixed tug of longbows with dismounted men-at-arms and longbows, and then I have to have, in addition to that, an equal number of just longbow units. And you can have up to 16 mixed, and then the longbowmen have to equal that. So you're really looking at maybe, possibly, if you max it out, 32 tugs, if you wanted 32 bases, and not 32 units. Let's back up. This is number of bases, and each base is going to have 3 figures on it. So you're looking at something like, what is that, 96 figures. Well, if you go with 16 bases of mixed and then 16 bases of just longbowmen. So 16 bases of longbowmen would be, what is that, 48? 48, and 48 just straight longbowmen, and then, which is these 2 bags right here, and then 48 mixed, which could be one, or like maybe these 2 bags. And then there's something called the best longbowman, or the retinue, and then it basically does the same thing. You'll have a group of longbowmen with men-at-arms, and then another equal amount of just longbowmen. So think of it like you have to have 2/3 longbowmen to 1/3 dismounted men-at-arms. Now I'm checking the army list for the early 100 Years' War, and I don't see that many longbowmen. I see retinue longbowmen of 4 bases with men-at-arms, and then another 4 bases of just longbowmen. And then, no, it's about the same. And then regular, it's 16. Okay. And again, remember that this is for a Magna army, which would be the mid-range army. There is a Pacto, which is smaller, and there's even a Maximus, which is the largest army. Okay, so Field of Glory, English army. Doesn't look like you get a whole lot of different things. You get longbowmen, quite a few longbowmen, which you need because the English longbows, that's their name to fame. Let's go ahead and open up one of these men-at-arms and see exactly what you get in these bags. Now remember, the dismounted men-at-arms are considered a loose unit in Meg, so you would be fighting along with bases of 3. So it looks like 5 bases of 3 and then 1 extra figure. Now I'm assuming that in Field of Glory they would be 4 bases of 4. So you could make these like heavy. I could even make these dismounted knights. These guys are fairly heavily armored. Their hand weapon and shield. I like this guy. He's got his axe across his face. He's got a sword across his face. He's got a mace. It looks like every single one of these models are different. Okay, maybe not. These two look like they're the same. Now, understand it's probably a random selection through all these bags. So, just because I get a specific type of miniature doesn't mean that that same miniature is going to be in every bag. Okay, there's actually quite a selection just out of that one battle group that I opened. Right? You've got, and the helmets are definitely different. This is a bassinet, a flat face bassinet, sword over the head. Pig face bassinet, sword raised high. A pig face bassinet with maces raised high. This is a sallet with the sword over the head. A sallet with a sword to the front in a guarded position. pig face with, okay, hold on. Yeah, these guys have a fairly similar pose, but they're different because this has a pig face, axe over his head, open-faced Saleh, axe over his head, open-faced Bassinet with a warhammer. Okay, he's probably the exact same as that guy. Okay. And this guy has a Saleh with an axe to the front. And this is a Saleh with a plume on his head with a hammer to his front. These three guys are in kettle helms with brigandine gambesons, it looks like. Axe across the face, like he's in a guarded position. Mace behind his head on both of those. So you just heard a large variety of models right there. We're looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so there's like 12 different models right here for just in this one pack. And there was 16 figures because there was 4 bases of 4, right? Yep, 16 figures. Now, in Meg, I'm going to be, like I said, in Meg, I'm going to be mounting them as bases of 3. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 1 extra. And if these are the same, I'm going to have 1 extra here, 1 extra there for a total of another base. So I'm going to have 15 bases plus the 1 combined base. So a total of 16 bases. Now, men-at-arms can be fielded as their own unit and not mixed with the longbows. If they're fielded as their own unit, they are in fact fielded as a close unit, which means 4 figures per base, and you can have a maximum of 4 bases. So one of these bags could be a men-at-arms unit, and then the other 2 bags can be mixed with your longbows for, what is that, 10 bases, which actually works out perfect because the longbow with men-at-arms has 16 bases, which means if you go 50-50, that would be 8 bases of men-at-arms with 8 bases of longbowmen as part of the mixed tugs. But then you have the retinue men-at-arms and longbow, and that is 4 bases. But again, half of that would be the men-at-arms, so that would be 10 bases. So that's what I would do. I would do the 10 bases mounted with 3s so that I can mix them with my longbowmen, and then the 4 bases and then one of these bags I would make as an actual men-at-arms unit. So it would have the 6 bases. I'm sorry, the 4 bases of 4. Okay, so when we're done looking at all these bags, what I'll do is we'll zoom in and we'll take a close look at the miniatures themselves. So the men-at-arms works out really well, actually, I think. All right, now let's take a look at the longbowmen themselves. I'm going to go ahead and open up this, let's go ahead and just open up one of these 32 count bags. Well, 32 doesn't divide by 3 very well, right? The 24 does. That's 6 stands, right? Where 32 would be 10 stands with a couple extras. Yep, these English longbowmen look exactly like the figures from the Burgundian starter army. I believe a longbowman is a longbowman. So they have various different types of helmets, armors, longbows. Some of them are wearing campaign hats, soft hats. Some are wearing salets, or I should say bassinets, and then some just have skull caps. About 1/3 of them is going to have their hand in the, having just been released, with the hand pointing to the rear, and then the other 2/3 are going to have their hands pulled up close to their chest like they're getting ready to fire. And all of them have arrows in their belt under their right arm. Okay, so let's do some quick math for this as well. 32, 64, 64, 88, 88, 108, 112. Okay, so there's going to be 112 longbowmen. Okay, so all the longbowmen are in bases of 3, no matter what. They're going to be in bases of 3. So if I take 112 and divide it by 3, that equals 37 bases. Right? So 37 bases with 1 extra figure. What could I do with 37 bases? Let's see. Longbowman retinue, you're going to have 2, and then with men-at-arms, and then a total of 6 straight longbowmen and retinue. So that's 6. And then 16, what's that, 22, and then 8 more, 30. Okay, so you only need 30 bases, or the most you can have is 30 bases of longbowmen with a Magna army. And this will get you 37 bases, so you'll have a few extra longbow bases that you can use for either your Burgundians or build towards a Maximus army. It's point driven, so you can have less than maximum, of course, but this is a good amount based on the amount of dismounted troops that you get. Okay, now let's look at the final bag, which is the command. Okay, I like the fact that you get a number of mounted troops. It looks like you get 3 mounted standard bearers. You get 3 foot standard bearers, 3 mounted officers, 3-foot officers, and 3-foot musicians. So what you could do with your mounted officers, you can mount them individually on a stand for your general. But what I would probably do is put a standard with your commander so that he can have his own personal, heraldry flying beside him. So you can have banners or flags for your mounted generals. Now the men-at-arms, and the archers, I would be putting in these 6 extra models here. So this is, mixing them up into the men-at-arms and the longbows. So you're actually getting 3 more stands if you go 3 per base. In your men-at-arms unit, I would put one of each of these in the men-at-arms unit. All of these, you're probably going to get an extra 3 bases for your archers, archer/men-at-arm tugs, which that's going to be great, and it'll look good, and you'll be able to put like little standards in your men-at-arms. I would actually put these in the men-at-arms portion of the unit and not the longbows, because none of these guys have longbows. But I think I would definitely put one of them in the dedicated men-at-arms, and then the other 2 in the other 2 dismounted men-at-arms units. Even though you're going to have 4 mixed men-at-arms units, 2 of them would have standards. So the other ones wouldn't have any standards. All right, let me adjust the camera. We'll take a close-up look at these figures and see exactly what they look like. All right, we're going to stick with the command, and I'm going to show off one of the musicians. That looks really good. He's got a giant bill. Billmen are options in the English Army, so you can get some billmen, and then you could use these command in that type of a unit if you wanted. This is another musician. One of the commanders. Looks like he's got a mantle and a crest on his helmet. Surcoat covering his armor. A great helmet, looks like, maybe. And then this is another one of the officers. He's carrying an axe. One of the standard bearers. Saleh, that's open. The other standard bearer. Pigface. Mounted command. I notice this command pack is the same as the one that comes in the Burgundian army. You get the two with a weapon and then one with just his hand. Mounted standard rear. You get two of those. Another mounted standard, you get one of these. If you were fielding knights, these would go just fine inside the knight units. One of the horses with a comparison. That's the armored surcoat for a horse. Another style of comparison. He actually has metal over the back of the neck. Articulated. Not sure. Yeah, that's a more of a flowing comparison. Okay, let's take a look at these longbow. The longbow, there's only about 3 poses. There's the one with a skull cap, with his arm pulled back, ready to shoot. That's one with a campaign cap. This is the back side of that campaign cap. A lot of trimming is going to have to be done on the bows, as you can see. And then the third pose is the guy with his hand dropped in the back. Man at arms, hammer, salet, plume. Very similar. We got a salet axe, no plume. A mace. Pig face axe. Pig face sword up high. Looks like a salet with a sword across his head. This is how I fight in the SCA. That's my go-to pose. And there's a few of them with these kettle helms. One with a mace drawn back. And this guy has, like, he's in a guarded position. This was really stood out to me as a unique pose. I really like it. Alright guys, well thank you for coming out and checking out this Field of Glory Starter Army number 14, the English 100 Years' War. And again, it is only a starter army. For me, I think I'd want to get some mounted knights and some billmen. I probably would want to build some stakes. I would probably get some thin long bases like 15s by 40s, and I'd put like little toothpicks sticking up as stakes, because that's an optional add-on that you can get for your archers. Alright guys, thanks for coming out and checking out this English starter army. If you're looking for armies for your own personal collection, be sure to check out my eBay store right there. And if you are interested in getting an army painted and put together for you, mounted and all that, I do commission work. You should email me at this email address right here, and I'll quote you a price and we'll get started on that. Alright, I will catch you in the next video.